The podcast has really taken off, which is great, but you gotta have a life outside the pod, you know? Sometimes you gotta be able to multitask.
Yeah, KG, I mean, look, there's a big opportunity here for the ACC, and really the reason I say that is because of the quarterback position. I mean, you've got some guys that have ice in their veins, and they're going to be able to go on the road and really do that. Now, some of that might be rocky road. I mean, it might be a little rocky for them, but those environments, some of these guys are a little bit older. They're veterans. They understand what they're going to do in those moments. We'll see if that makes sense for them and how they can do in the clutch.
Welcome into the Gramlich and Lain podcast, presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and Lain. It is week 0. We have football. There will be football games. This is so exciting. We are so excited to dive into some of these games. We've got multiple ACC teams in action this weekend. We've got a big ACC clash between NC State and Virginia. We have Taylor Tannebaum here, the wonderful, fearless leader of our ACC squad on ACC Network. And we have Eric McLean, now a father of 2. We just behind the scenes, we just spent 15 minutes talking about the birth of Henry, and none of that stuff can go on air. But Mac, this is the first time.
Should have. Maybe it should have. We should have recorded.
I don't think Khaki would have appreciated that.
Khaki would have loved it.
You guys can have Khaki on as a guest one day to explain the birth story of Henry, who came in very strong and mightily to this work.
Yes. That's not a bad idea. That could be a good guest episode later down the year.
He's destined for greatness.
He really is. Well, Mac, congratulations. Because
Thank you.
We recorded a lot of stuff. This is our first time really live since you've become a boy dad. So I know that's very exciting.
Boy dad. That's right. Well, that's the interesting thing now. Like, do I get rid of my girl dad shirt? Do I still?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just both. So got to represent both. I will say the dad strength has doubled. Like, I feel great. Feel really strong in the gym. The sleep has significantly went downhill. And boys, like, you don't know any different, KG, but boys kind of suck. They're louder, they're more annoying, and they pee everywhere.
Now you get it. Now you know how we feel.
My princess. This
have you been peed on?
No, because I'm a pro. I put a towel right on it all the time. Never a doubt. But my mother-in-law has been peed on like 17 times, and Khaki's been peed on. Probably just because they don't get it. Like, they don't have to deal with that ever. But that thing's gonna go where it wants to go.
Yeah. This is
Mac,
true.
Welcome to my life.
Thank you.
TT, of course, has a nephew who just turned 1, so she knows how this goes down. But yes, we're so excited. It's finally time. I'm so glad that our boy Henry decided to come August 1st, so that you and Khaki have had basically the whole month of August to settle into the craziness of having a newborn yet again. And now it's time for football season. Okay, TT, tell us, before we dive into little NC State, Virginia, I talk to Mac and you all the time, and I can't keep track of where you guys are going to be. So talk to us about week 0, week 1. Where will the huddle be?
Shout out to the Notes app, because I don't think we really know what we're doing half the time either, but I have to write everything down. Week 0, naturally, we're NC State, Virginia. We're going to Charlottesville. But week 1, we're going to be literally coast to coast. We're doing the Friday night thing, Miami visiting Stanford. We'll have shows before and after. Then Saturday, our traditional ACC huddle Saturday morning show will be from Berkeley. So we're going to drive over the bridge late at night after that Stanford-Miami game and go, do our pregame show from the Cal UCLA spot on campus. Is going to be in front of the Doe Library for anybody listening. Don't know if that's officially announced, but here you go. That's on Saturday. And then Monday night, we'll be in Tallahassee for yet another conference game between SMU and Florida State. And for Florida State, it'll be their second game of the season, but for SMU, their first. And look, both of those teams have something to play for. Let's just say that. So we'll be all over the place. I'm pumped.
It's going to be great. I am so excited for this coverage. I'm ready for you guys to be back at it. I'm ready to be able to turn on the TV and watch the huddle on Saturdays when I'm on my couch. So let's dive into, we're going to talk about the games we have this weekend. And then I have 3 burning questions for the 3 of us to debate as this season is about to unfold. So you mentioned NC State, Virginia. That's where y'all are going to be. NC State and Virginia. Virginia is a 5.5-point favorite as of today, which I find kind of interesting. Saturday, 3:30 on ESPN. We also have UNC TCU at noon on ESPN. So the ACC is taking over ESPN this Saturday. You've got an established guy in CJ Bailey. Reports I'm reading, he had a great camp. He's really commanding the team. You've got a brand new guy in Bo Prabula taking over at Virginia. Mac, let's just start with you here. Early thoughts on State, Virginia.
Yeah, I'm really excited that we get a game of, this quality. First of all, that we get to be at,
Yeah.
just to hit the ground running. I mean, you have literally a team that won 11 games last year, one of the best seasons they've ever had in Virginia, played in an ACC championship, won, their bowl game. And then you have a team in NC State that maybe has one of the best quarterbacks in the country and storylines. And, we think of how good the Pack has been since Dave Doran has been there. Is this maybe going to be the best team he has? We'll see. There's been a lot of good ones, but just for us to be here and harness all that energy week 0 is pretty great, because this game, as we all remember, was supposed to be in Brazil, and we would probably be in the studio right
Yes.
now, but instead we get to be boots on the ground, visiting with some great fan bases that are going to come together, and just can't wait to have our show there. And the interesting thing to me, like the two strengths of this team, to me, don't go against each other. You have CJ Bailey, who is the guy and a certified, playmaker. And then you have this offensive line for Virginia that I think right now, preseason on paper, is the best offensive line in the conference. So who is going to show up better? Who is going to be able to make plays? And, is it that big, nasty offensive line up front that's just mowing guys down, getting chunky runs, methodically going up and down the field? Or is it the splash and the firepower within NC State there with CJ Bailey? So TT, those are two things that I have circled 20 times to really pay attention to when we're in Scott Stadium.
And these teams are in coming off of different spots. Like Virginia, it's now, hey, you won those 11 games. Now the expectations are a lot higher. For NC State, that's typically where they live. We speak so highly of them preseason, and the last few years maybe have fallen short of what we deemed expectation. This year, it's almost like they're the dark horse. Like, we're not talking about it as much, but they have potential to do something great. And I think that's something Dave Dorn knows deep down inside. Like the way he's moving lately, it feels like a different swagger. Like he knows there's a quiet confidence about him and this team. And actually, that's how I feel talking to CJ Bailey too, is look, he's been loyal. He's been battle tested. He was thrown into the fire as a freshman. And they've got some playmakers. Now, the question is defensively for NC State. But they're kind of living in different places. One is sort of flying under the radar in NC State, who should be good, and we'd like for them to be good for this league. But for Virginia, it's how do you now double down on an 11-win season, change at quarterback, but certainly some key players coming back too. And I do think that they're deep in that running back room, and I do think they have playmakers. But again, the strength for Virginia last year was their balance too, offensively and defensively, very complementary of each other. What does that defense now look like for Virginia? Because a lot of times last year, it came down to the defense. Is that going to be the case this year too? So I don't think we have questions on the offensive side for both of these teams as much as we do maybe defensively. Just can NC State step it up, and what does Virginia do to replicate the success they had last year on that side of the ball?
I am so curious about Virginia. And I
Me
think
too.
there's already a certain level of respect where you're opening as a 5.5-point favorite in this game, a game you lost last year in a crazy scenario down the stretch in Raleigh. That game was just wild. And, we're seeing different projections for Virginia. I just looked at one, 9-3, perhaps, like 8-4, I think would be maybe Virginia fans would kind of be like, I'm not, I feel like 9-3 is something that they're looking at, maybe a 10-2. Is Virginia there? Like for you guys who have been there, you're going to be in Charlottesville. You saw this program rise up last year. Should we have these types of expectations for Virginia when they lost a lot and they lost Chandler Morris?
They did lose a ton. And that's, probably my biggest hesitation this whole offseason, and not shouting Virginia from the rooftops more, specifically, at the skill positions, right? I mean, that's hard to replace that as they're going to in entirety. Like literally the entire quarterback room, the entire running back room is brand new. And we just don't know. Now, one thing that I think Virginia has probably earned pretty, well here is they develop guys. They identify talent, what fits them, what they think can be something they can exploit and make better. And then they go get them and do that and develop them into these monsters. It might not be guys that were getting recruited by Clemson or Georgia or Bama, but they will work here, and we're going to make them into something that they're going to leave significantly better. So we might not know those names, or we might not be familiar with who that is going to be from a start power standpoint, for Virginia. But I think that Coach Elliott has earned that. I think their, Justin Sparrows and their GM/evaluation department has earned our trust and thinking that they're going to be able to do that.
And I think they brought in some power forward talent too. Like they do lose a lot, but they've replenished a lot as well. And I know the running back room looks a little bit different, but they have three dudes coming back from last year and added talent through the portal. The other note I'll say is why Virginia should earn some respect is a lot of this does come down to schedule too. And look, they have the second easiest schedule in the ACC per ESPN analytics. They do not play Miami. They do not play Clemson. They do not play Louisville. So if you're going to look at Virginia and say, hey, are they possible to make another run? Can they have success? Schedule wise, yes, they can. And if they reload it at certain spots and just Bo Prabula turns out to be who they think he can be, I think this is a team that certainly is a force to be reckoned with. It's interesting because both of these teams, NC State is the easiest schedule per ESPN analytics in the ACC. So both of these teams, whoever wins this one, comes out looking ahead at like, hey, maybe this could be good for me. And I will say that saying, Virginia lost this game last year and still ended up in an ACC championship game. It's not the end of the world, but certainly sets one of these teams up for great success in terms of conference play.
And I think that's why this game is so fascinating as well. I mentioned off the top that it's such a pivotal game. And that's the biggest reason is because to me, this does feel like a dark horse play-in game for the ACC championship. It feels like whoever wins this is in a very good spot to be sitting there at the end of the year. And we're sitting there saying, look out. These guys are right on the edge.
It was a non-conference game last year.
It was.
Exactly.
Last year, yeah.
So it didn't count toward your conference record. Right. It will this year. And with both of these teams having easy schedules and you don't play those top dogs can be a blessing, but also a curse if you drop this one. Yeah, I'm with you.
And for NC State, we all know CJ Bailey, and I think this can be a massive year for him. He's got all the opportunity in the world. NC State, though, they did return 20%, or I think less than 20% of their total receptions from last year, which this is kind of everybody in a lot of ways. There are some wide receiver rooms in the ACC that are very established. I think you'd say Miami. I think you'd say Clemson. And beyond that, we'll see with some of these wide receiver rooms. But when you look at this quarterback competition in this game, I need to see Prabula do it. You look at his numbers last year in Missouri. I know he was playing in the SEC, so it was just so hard. But numbers weren't fantastic. I know he likes to run the football. He's a big-time running quarterback. Can he throw it at a level where Virginia can win? I think the edge in the quarterback discussion in this game is CJ Bailey. Do you guys feel that? And what do you need to see from CJ Bailey in this game for NC State to win it?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question on that. I think CJ is in a nice realm by himself, in the top 3-4, QBs, which is a great league. There's a lot of great quarterback play in here, so that's a good distinction, to be in. So just seeing him take that next step to be a superstar, he was very good a year ago and throwing it for nearly 70%, pushing the ball downfield, taking care of the ball. And as you mentioned, not having all those pass catchers back. Well, what he gets instead is a guy that he's played with since they could both walk in JoJo Schrader. So how much does that matter? That's what I'm interested to see in that rapport, that friendship that they have. I'm really excited to see that. And what does that equate to yards, touchdowns, wins, for this NC State team and just some of the other guys. CJ is very high on this receiving core. Now, what else is he going to say? He's not going to sit out here and say they all suck.
These guys ain't got it.
Right. When people ask him, who's your go-to, who are you going to lean on? He says, I got 5 guys. And he's been very adamant about that. So can we see a Victor Snow who is a little bit undersized? You're not supposed to call him that because he's a dog, apparently. Can you see Dozier come up and continue to do well? Can you see Keenan Jackson a year ago? They seem to get on the same page. So I really like what I've seen from that, what I've heard from that, and I think that will instantly be ready to go. On the other side, though, Taylor and Kelly, I would force Bo to throw the ball. I'm not going to lose because Virginia's ran for 200-plus yards on us. I'm going to load the box, and I'm going to dare them to beat me with Bo's arm.
And honestly, was a weak spot for NC State last year was their secondary. They are older. They were young. There were injuries aplenty. They have reloaded, and there are some guys coming back who have some game experience who will certainly be better for it. But I agree with you. That should be the name of the game, is can Bo Prabula beat us in the spot we were weakest at last year, but maybe we've stepped up and can be better at this year. But I don't have worries about what an NC State offense will look like, because I think at the end of the day, CJ Bailey will get it done. And I do like what they've done through the portal. Like, they have brought in, especially defensively, some power for guys who have played some real football, experienced guys. And even in that wide receiver room, like you've talked about, maybe not power four guys, but guys who were tops of their leagues in the MAC and at App State and stuff like that, where they actually had playing time and got some real experience. This feels like a team that has played a lot of ball, that has seen a lot of things, that will be better because of that. So I agree with you. I think the name of the game is, hey, we know Bo Prabula can use his legs. What can he do to beat us through the air? But that was a weak point for NC State last year. So how much better did they get in that department will be very telling early in this season. And that could really be, something this year. If they can do that, that can really set the stage for them to snowball it into something even better.
All right, let's make some picks, because NC State is on the road, and that always makes me a bit uncomfortable. And Virginia was very good at home last year. Will this place be super packed? It's not a night game. It's a 3:30, but I know there's been a lot of, efforts to pack Scott, so hopefully it is. I'm leaning Virginia, guys. I think Virginia is going to run the football. I think they've got the experience. When you look at the guys they bring back defensively, we love a Cam Robinson. They're playing at home. They're playing in Scott. I think Virginia is going to find a way. I think I'm going to take Virginia to cover. What do you guys think, Mac? You start.
I'm right there with you. Again, I mentioned when we first started this.
See, I feel like we said a lot of nice things about State, and then we're like,
listen, I think
State's going to win.
I'll lay it out what I think could happen. I think I'll take NC State to cover, actually. So I guess I'm picking them, but I think Virginia wins. I think it's either going to be a 3-point-ish Virginia win, or NC State runs them out of the stadium. Like those are the two things. I don't think there's middle ground of either, but I do think Virginia wins this game. I think they lean on those big boys up front. I think that they are able to change the game, slow the game down, frustrate NC State from getting on the field. They feel like they've got to go and they have to do something. So give me like a 24-21 type game, and the Hoos get it done at home.
I'm going NC State.
Okay.
Something feels different in the air when it comes to Dave Doeren. And in the same breath that you say, I think it might force them to do some things if the offense isn't on the field, because Virginia's eating up clock running the ball. I think CJ Bailey can score quick. And I think he has some dudes in that wide receiver room that we may not have seen in an NC State uniform. I know Keenan Jackson we have, and I think he really has taken a step above from everything that I've heard coming out of Raleigh. And they've got a running back themselves in Duke Scott, which we didn't even mention in that conversation, who I know you lose Hollywood Smothers, which was a big chunk of your run game last year. I think he is poised and positioned to take over that role. And then some. They add Davion Goss from UNC, another one of CJ Bailey's teammates. I just think offensively, like, they can win a battle. Last year it was 35-31. They're going toe-to-toe. It came down to that interception in the end zone. Chandler Morris would love to have that throwback. I think it could be very much the same, but I think if the ball is in the hands of CJ Bailey, like, they can make one more play to get it done on the road. That's just my feeling there.
NC State running the football is like my biggest question. You're right. The fact that we didn't talk about that is funny. And Duke is amazing. Like, he had a great freshman year at the end of the year specifically, but they consistently over the last 4 or 5 years, it's felt like they can't run it. And that's also what gives me reservations. Yeah. It's kind of like I have to see it. You have to prove it to me. And I think that matters on the road more than ever.
Same here, Mac. That's my big concern with State, as it is pretty much every year. Only TT believes. So there you have it. She only believes in the pack. Okay, let's talk about UNC and Florida State a little bit before we get into our 3 burning questions. Guys, the ACC, as I said earlier, they're taking over ESPN. So you've got North Carolina TCU Saturday, noon on ESPN. You're going to start Saturday with North Carolina TCU. Well, you're going to start Saturday with the huddle, excuse me. And then you're going to have North Carolina TCU and then Virginia NC State. Bill Belichick bringing in 60 new players, including 40 true freshmen. Looks like 6-year journeyman Billy Edwards Jr. will get the start against TCU. And then here's another fun fact. Unforeseen situation with the DC, Steve Belichick, medical leave. Hope he's okay, right? Bill Belichick is expected to assume play calling on the defensive side of the ball
Right.
We're so
per
bad.
Inside Carolina.
Love
While
that.
D-line coach Bob Diaco will take a larger leadership role. And of course, you have Petrino coming in on the offensive side. So what could go wrong over here in Ireland? What are your feelings with UNC TCU? Early thoughts. TT, let's start with you.
My early thoughts are I'm just as anxious to see it as everybody else. And truthfully, that's like all I can really say. You noted 40 freshmen, all these new players, and granted, a lot of them very highly touted. They have stars next to their names, but what does it look like all together? Billy Edwards Jr., same thing. He won a battle with Miles O'Neill to win the starting quarterback job, but what does that look like in a Bobby Petrino offense? And when Billy Edwards is actually healthy, like in 2024, you have a nice sample size from when he was at Maryland. And he was second in the Big Ten at that point in passing yards per game, which is great news for Carolina. And that seems like a match made in heaven with a Bobby Petrino offense that last year at Arkansas averaged 455, yards per game and 33 points per game. Like that could be good. But who are your playmakers? Who's your guy toting the rock? Who's your guy making the play defensively? I think they have pieces. How do the pieces all come together, especially when you're across the pond, light years away in Ireland? Like, I genuinely want to see it just as much as you do because your guess is as good as mine. Like, I can give you the pieces and what everyone can do individually, but what do they look like together? And there were moments last year where you saw progression. How does that progression lead into 26?
Mm-hmm. And I think the most intriguing thing for me with North Carolina truly is the fact that Bobby Petrino is calling plays. Like how much does that matter? Because like you said, that he made that Arkansas offense look great and they were terrible. And I couldn't imagine what they'd be like without him. So how do you harness that and bring that to Carolina? How are you able to take, a guy in Billy, as you mentioned, who had that pretty good year in 24 and bring that back and get it to the playmakers, get the ball out? I do like what I've seen from June at the running back position. Now I assume, is going to be the guy, be the feature back there. Do we see him get 100 and 50 plus carries? I think he's a very quality back there. But just what does it look like? I'm fascinated to see because TCU is going to bring it. Like they've got a lot of guys back. They love Jaden Craig, the transfer quarterback, I believe from Harvard. Raved about him in the spring and thought they got a really good deal, and have been even more ecstatic about what he brings to the table in fall camp. 6'3", 230 pounds. Like he's a real deal. And I know what they had last year in Hoover, a little turnover prone, but look out for him to make a big time impact in this game early against Carolina.
So what does this defense do?
With Belichick calling plays too.
Right. Like, will it look more like what you expect a Bill Belichick defense to look like? And TCU is a great test for that.
Yeah. It's even more of an indictment, right? I mean, that's what's going to be fascinating. And of course, just balancing both calling plays and handling head coaching duties. TCU is a 7.5 point favorite. Anybody giving UNC a chance here?
I think that's a low number. I think you comfortably take them.
Yeah, I'll take them just because you know more. Now, could we be surprised? Sure. Maybe we see something that we haven't seen behind the closed doors because they really do keep those doors closed in Chapel Hill. But if I'm betting my money, I'm betting on the team that has shown me something and has shown me reason to give them the nod.
Yep. Speaking of closed doors, it feels like all these doors are closed these days. Florida State's been closing doors and not letting.
Taylor, she was there.
Well, look, TT is.
She arrived on campus and the doors just opened.
As they should on most campuses.
No, that was just the EJ Manuel effect.
Oh well, that
helps.
No depth chart either from Florida State, which is interesting. They are a 31.5 point favorite. They play New Mexico State Saturday, 7 p.m. on the CW. It is just nice to see Florida State open with not Alabama, not LSU, not someone like that. I think
they won all those games that you're bringing up right now.
That's true. That's a great point. But Norvell said that he feels, apparently camp went well. He says he feels really good going into week 1. Now, of course, you're playing New Mexico State, so that has to feel good.
Right, too.
Mac,
better look good, too.
Yes, it better look good. I think we all understand Florida State's going to win the game. Someone knock on wood. But what is this going to look like? And Mac, I'm going to start with you, even though TT is our FSU queen, because you are really high on Ashton Daniels. And I want to hear what you expect to see from him this Saturday.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody asked me that, and again, they phrase it as, "Is this a must win?" I said, "Well, sure, 'cause it's a must not lose," but I don't even put that in that category because what I think is going to happen.
The answer is
Like,
yes.
these boys,
But...
it is, but like it's like I would say SMU's a must win just because of the ramifications. I would put that type of game in that category. So yes, you cannot lose to New Mexico State, but it's a game where, to me, it better look like early in the season did last year. I need to see execution at a high level. I need to see 70 plus points. I need to see you moving the ball at a high clip. And quite frankly, just from Ashton, as you brought him up, I need it to look clean. I don't need any turnovers. I don't need any ball in jeopardy type plays. Now, still take risks, make good throws, but it needs to look good. It needs to look like he's been in this offense for 4 years, not 4 months. And so to me, that's going to be really important. I think he is a perfect fit for what Mike Norvell wants to do, the head coach there, who is now back to calling plays. I think that's a really important piece of this deal. So yeah, run the football at will, throw the ball very effectively, get your playmakers going in a hurry, get that confidence, because Monday night when we're there is going to be a big, big opportunity for both teams, not only personnel wise, but just the quality of game. And you better be ready. You better be feeling yourself when SMU comes to town.
Yeah, this should be beneficial for Florida State in playing a New Mexico State before you have SMU coming to town, who's going to bring it. They're one of the favorites in this league. They're ranked 19th in the country for a reason. So this is a chance for Florida State to plant a flag, make a statement, and say, hey, look, this isn't the team you were talking about last year. And when SMU rolls into town, we're going to be a football team that's going to play a football game and look really good doing it. Like, I don't want it to be, oh, poor little old Florida State and what's it going to look like? Like, it needs to be a real conversation going into that Labor Day night that, like, this could be a team that's on the map, much like it was last year. And then everything kind of unraveled after losing to Virginia, like you just alluded to, EMAC. Like, it needs to look good. Now, in the Ashton Daniels conversation, I've been saying this, I love that he ran into the fire. Like, look, I know he's been a couple of stops. He did Stanford, he did Auburn. He looked decent in the tail end of that season for Auburn last year when the team was in disarray. He put up numbers, and there was a chance they nearly upset Alabama, and we were having a completely different playoff conversation. I digress. He looked at the landscape this offseason and said, I want to go compete for the job at Florida State because it was a competition with Kevin Sperry. And I want to go to a place that there is not a lot of stability right now at Florida State. And he knows that. Coach Norvell knows that. Anybody who's a fan of Florida State and college football knows that. And he said, I want to be part of the solution. And I really do respect that. And I think you need guys who want to be part of the solution at Florida State. And I think they've weeded out some of the guys who were not before.
Yeah.
I think it's going to look different. I think Ashton Daniels is in the perfect spot with a guy like Mike Norvell, and he has the tools to be able to be successful. You have Deuce Robinson, Mekhi Danzy. The offensive line is a bit of a question mark. Contrary to UVA, everyone's kind of new. But you do have a backfield that's stock full of talent. Us Chroma has apparently looked great. We've been waiting for him to come into his own the last few years. You add Trey Wisner into the mix coming over from Texas. I just think, this is a team that can make an impact. The problem is their schedule's tough.
Well,
but this is Florida State.
That's what you expect.
Yeah, right.
That's what you expect. It's what you're going to get. So
from a schedule standpoint, I would much rather be Florida State and play this game than be SMU and wait around. Right. So I like that for them. I think they're going to at least be able to get some confidence out there. Now, I know, of course, you're going to get something on tape, whereas you're not going to have much tape, but Kevin Jennings, what SMU is going to try to do. But that's for next week.
That's right.
I think we're all taking FSU and taking FSU to cover in this game.
What is the spread?
31
31.
It's pretty
You'll cover. You'll cover. Listen, those receivers, like you hit on a couple of them. I think this receiving core, first three, like, I don't know what it is when you get after that, but the first three are good. Like, those guys are freaky. And I have pretty high expectations from Danzy too. Like, it's go time. Like, you're not just a track guy, you're a football player. And I need to see that. And same thing with this backfield, because Ashton Daniels is going to be a great runner as well. I think that hides and erases some of the issues that may exist on the offensive line. Like, when you have a mobile guy at quarterback, that helps a lot. And certainly he's been there, done that. He got hit a ton at Stanford. He's going to be able to get out of the way and help those guys up front too.
Speaking of Stanford, Stanford is also playing football this weekend. They're playing Hawaii, 7
Hawaii.
p.m. ACC Network on Saturday. Stanford's a 4-point favorite. Taylor, you said you wanted to say something about this game.
Say something nice about your friend.
You know what? I didn't go on the West Coast trip for our road trip. Neither did you, Mac, because you were on baby duty. EJ Manuel went out there. Sorry, I'm putting EJ's business out there. He went out there, and
I can't wait to hear it. Tell me how good they're going to be. Go ahead.
He came back and said, like, they're not going to be bad. He really is optimistic when it comes to Stanford. And in the sense that, like, from the leadership top down, you have dudes who have buy-in with this program, right? And you have Andrew Luck and you have Tavita Pritchard, who, when I listen to him speak, I'm like ready to go suit up for the Cardinal, all right? I'm ready to go. Davis Warren is their quarterback. He's been named their guy. He comes from a big-time program in Michigan. He's been through some things in life. And look, it may not be these names that'll pop off the page, but if they can play some clean football, at least they can beat Hawaii, which they were not capable of doing.
Didn't do it last year. Need to see it.
Let's start there, right? Let's beat Hawaii.
Let's start there. So I don't know, like there could be something there, but I will say EJ seems optimistic after looking at him. He says they look better, so I'm gonna take his word for it, and we'll be out there next Friday watching them against Miami, two completely different teams. Mm-hmm. But hey, it comes down to execution.
It does. I'm not sure. I talk about Florida State. I want to be Florida State playing New Mexico State. I'm not sure I want to be Stanford, though, waiting around to play Miami, just because you're not playing a New Mexico State and then you're putting stuff on film. I'm not sure it's great overall for Stanford, but we'll see.
Kelly, this is an absolute masterclass here. Look as this sub comes together. The maestro picks up the serrated blade. Boom! A clean symmetrical slice right down the seam of the Italian white, opening up the massive lane.
You're absolutely right, Eric. And look at the transition to the condiments. A lightning fast mayo swipe corner to corner, absolutely painting the canvas.
You are so right, Kelly. And now he's going to the meat roster, folding the salami, the ham, the capicola. Better in precision here with textbook overlapping, stacked to seal the edge.
He's got absolute control of that board, Eric. Look at the agility on the lettuce sprinkle, the perfect spacing of the tomatoes, that oil and vinegar drizzle, absolute ice in his veins.
Would you like this cut in half?
Yes!
I've been very excited about this. I want to get to my 3 burning questions because there's 3 of us.
Come on.
Okay. So the first one is week 0 based. The other 2 are more big picture. Which quarterback will we be most impressed with after week 0? Ladies first. TT, start us off.
I'm going to go Ashton Daniels. And because I think here's why. I know we are expecting CJ Bailey to be good. We know what Bo Prabula did last year at Missouri and what he could potentially do, especially with his legs. I just think the game that those teams are going up against each other. I think it's actually going to be a battle. I think you're going to walk out of the New Mexico State game with the numbers Ashton Daniels could potentially put up and be like, dang, he can play some football in that offense.
What impresses you? Tell me if he does this, you're like, you say that.
Throws for 300 plus, run and a couple touchdowns, runs for 2.
To what? 200?
Touchdowns.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. If he goes 4 total touchdowns,
I just think you're going to be like, it's going to give you a sense of optimism that this can work.
Sure.
I don't know how that plays the rest of the season, but I think you can walk out of week 0 believing in Ashton and Florida State's offense. Now, what happens when they go up against a more formidable foe?
Okay. I like that. You're
that's
100%. If that's the stat line, I agree. I will be very excited.
Yeah.
I think it's CJ Bailey. And now listen, I still picked Virginia to win that game, but I think he's going to show everything you need to see from a leader, from taking the steps, what's going to be next. And he's going to start solidifying himself as one of the best in the country. Listen, everybody's going to be watching that game. It's 3:30 ESPN. Everybody's locked in week 0. What a big opportunity for him to solidify himself as a household.
Funny enough, I think it's Bo Prabula. I think all 3 of us
3 different answers. That's good.
Are going with different answers here because I think that he's going to look good behind this offensive line. I think they're going to run the football. I think Virginia's going to win. I'm not saying his numbers are going to be insane, but I think we're going to be saying, okay, we're going to have to keep an eye on Virginia again. They have a very solid quarterback who can run the ball, who can make the right decisions, who can lead this team. So that's what I'm thinking. We will see, guys. We all say three different guys. And of course, 3 of the biggest names in the ACC at the quarterback position are playing in week 0. So that's going to be fun. Here's my second question. Mac, I'm going to start with you on this one. We're projecting ahead. We're going to have a ton of Clemson talk next week, of course, with Clemson LSU. Which Tiger quarterback, is it Christopher Vizina or is it Tate Reynolds, will make the biggest impact for the Tigers in the other Death Valley on September 5th? You could interpret impact in different ways, but which quarterback, I guess, will we be talking about after that game?
I thought this was done. I thought we were good. I thought we'd seen enough, didn't see enough, that this situation was over. And then,
well, even if
Kelly,
he's starting, even if Vizina starts, that's not the question. Who's going to make the biggest impact?
Why not start? Who knows? I'm just saying, I thought it would have been hands down him. And then you sent me this freaking long text from a whatever, and I'm just like, this.
It was from Tiger Illustrated. I'll cite my source.
This is annoying. Shout out Larry. But it's annoying that on August 25th, 6th, I'm dealing with this. Like, I don't like it.
Think you're going to deal with it all
year.
year.
It is what it is. Maybe. Gosh, it's so hard. I think I'm still going to lean with Vizina. I think his deep ball's sick. I think he gets it going. And that's a pretty drastic change for where I was a month ago. I think those receivers are good enough. You just got to get them the ball in space. And LSU's it's a hard place for a young freshman to come in for the first time.
That's what I was going to say. If you are toying with this thought that maybe your freshman's going to get some run later this season, if the tides end up turning in that direction of Tate Reynolds, that is not the place to boost the confidence of your young quarterback, to be quite honest with you. So I'm leaving CV out there. He's played in some big-time moments. He has seen some football, and he has waited his turn, and I think he's earned the respect of his teammates, over the course of the last few years, not just this spring and fall. So I'm going to give him a legitimate shot. I am. And I think, if they're going to win this game, CV's going to have to play great.
CV will start. I don't see any other way that he doesn't. But I think one interesting factor here that we haven't mentioned is the Chad Morris of it all. Is Chad Morris going to let this offense go out there if CV is not moving the ball and just run, punt the game away? Like, I'm very curious. At halftime, is something going to change? Are we going to see Tate Reynolds in series number 3? Like, I think the answer is yes. I don't think Chad Morris is going to let you go out there and, games that come to mind recently, not necessarily last year, because that was a battle between Clemson and LSU, but Clemson, Georgia the year before, or Clemson, Georgia in Charlotte, both Clemson, Georgias. I'm not sure Chad Morris just lets that continue for the whole game. Does that make sense?
And even you think back to, again, I've compared this a ton, but 2014, Chad's last year with Deshaun and Cole, we were on the road at Georgia, and Deshaun Watson comes in the third series of the game.
So what did he do?
Yeah, he goes in, and he probably should have stayed in.
I guess there's precedent.
Different outcome. There is precedent. I just didn't think. I thought we were done with that. I thought that situation was over, and I guess we are not. I guess we're in the thick of it.
Not from what I was reading from Tiger Illustrated, which are the reporters and the people that I trust the most when it comes to Clemson coverage. I think we're going to be talking about Tate Reynolds.
Yeah.
For better or worse, after September 5th. Okay. We have much more to discuss on that next week, and maybe we'll have even more information, Matt, because I do not think it is all settled and done. Our last burning question, and then we got to let TT go because she's got things she's got to do, and Mac has a baby, so he's got to go deal with that. Which ACC team are we not talking about enough, Taylor Tannebaum?
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech? Yeah. Tell me why.
You have James Franklin. You can knock him all you want for not winning the big game, but he's won a lot of dang big games during the course of his tenure at Penn State and at Vanderbilt. Ethan Grunkemeyer comes in at quarterback. You got your offensive coordinator. You have Brent Pry now in a happy space over there calling the defense, doing his thing, knows what it's supposed to look like there at Virginia Tech.
Okay.
I'm going Hokies. The schedule is manageable at times, but they have opportunities that present themselves too. I just think it would be not wise to eliminate them from the conversation because they have a first-year head coach. That's a different cat.
I might go the other Tech, and I can't wait to see these two play. Maybe we'll be there in person, but I think a lot of people have written off Georgia Tech, and I understand why. You lose a guy that was so good and was there for quite a while. But Mendoza's been balling, everything I've heard. And we get to see that up close and personal week 2 against Tennessee. What does that look like? They have a great game against Colorado to start Thursday Night Football week 1 at home, which is important. So I think Georgia Tech is they're going to be something. Do they win 9 games again? I don't know. Do they get to the double-digit mark? I think Mendoza might be a little bit of a better passer holistically than what we saw from King, but just that entire attitude that the entire Georgia Tech team embodied with him, it's hard to replicate. So I'm fascinated to see that. But I think Coach Key's as good as it gets. They're bigger on the defensive line. They're bigger on the offensive line. That's going to matter. And they might have the best running back backfield in the conference. So how do they lean into that? How do they just do their thing? There's a lot of change. 2 new coordinators, brand new faces everywhere you look. And Coach Key's embraced it. He somebody asked him, "Oh, how you doing with that?" And he started to pretend to cry. It's like, it's what college football is. It's what we do. And if you're not good at it, go do something else. So we'll find out. But I'm pretty excited to see Tech this year.
Well, Mac, people are coming back to college now, so maybe Haynes King will find a 12th year of
You
eligibility.
going back? Both of you?
back.
Absolutely not. No. This body's not built for that at this time. Mine is a team we've talked about all episode, Virginia. I think we are talking about them enough, the Huddle and ACC Network, but nationally, people are really looking at Virginia like, okay, last year was cute,
Cute.
But I think Virginia is going to have something to say about this season, this year in the ACC. So keep an eye on Virginia Tech, as TT said, Georgia Tech, Virginia. Week 0 is here. So excited to get into some football. I cannot wait. Watch the ACC Huddle every morning, not every morning, every Saturday morning on ACC Network. TT, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, friends.
Rollback just dropped their licensed game day collection. Polos, hoodies, Q-zips, custom designed for your school. On game days, we wear Rollback, period.